everybody.
Get to hit start.
I did. There we go.
And when they went to the queen to tell her her subjects had no bread, do you know what she said?
Let them eat cake.
Who took the bomb?
We're getting screwed, man. Every time we turn around, we're getting screwed. Oh, the revolution's going to be through podcasting for sure. That's the only way we talk. It's the little guys that take the brunt of everything. It's got to stop. Peasants, man. We're just peasants. Every one of us. You watch those old movies, you see the peasants in the background with the kings and queens walking around. We're those people. We're those people.
Good morning, peasants. Welcome to another episode of the Peasant Perspective. Today's going to be a good one.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. We're taking a trip to the Midwest, up to the frozen north, to Minnesota. I'm going to be spending quite a bit of time there today talking about all their problems.
Feels like we're there to this morning here. It's cold.
It is a little crunchy. Nothing like there, though.
Yeah,
Nothing
probably
like
not.
there. When I see the videos there, I'm like, woo, I'll take a little rain.
Yeah.
All right. So in non-Minnesota news, Patrick Byrne was on with Emerald Robinson yesterday, and he tied something in that is just another one of those, oh, shucks. Could you surprise me anymore? So listen to this.
We don't fix it before 2026. We are still at risk of losing our country forever, right?
So they're talking about the election system, specifically the machines.
We got one lifeline in 2024, and he noted that it was because of a certain group of people and that they interfered to stop it. And he mentioned Serbia.
I can confirm that that's the case, that the Serbian office, which really has been around for 20 years, no matter what name brand the computer is there in your nation running elections, underneath it's Serbia is it's connecting. That office got shut down for 5 days. I understand it got smoked. But in some kind of strange, somebody did take some action and neutralize that, which is the only reason we had a fair election. We were going to have another one of those Fs, those F fraud that you see where the guy's behind and then suddenly, 140,000 straight votes. We would have had one of those, and that's what Kamala was counting on.
So there was a clip that Patrick Byrne, that the world, somebody high up, probably Donald Trump, wants circulated. And it was a clip that he played in his Alex Jones interview. And I should have gone and grabbed it. I didn't think we'd cover this too much today. But there was a small precinct election. So just, very small district where all the precincts, it's just a local election. Mm-hmm. And it was one of those places where it was a primary and the top two vote getters, if there's three candidates or more, move on to the general, kind of a jungle primary. Well, the bottom vote getter that got dropped off was like, this doesn't seem right. So she went around to different precincts and she found herself with 0 votes in a couple precincts. Then she got to her precinct where her and her husband voted for her and she had 0 votes. So that was enough because she went to the election person, was like, I voted for myself here and I don't even see 1 vote.
Yeah.
And so they did a hand recount. The winner ended up losing 1,000 votes. The second person ended up losing like 800 votes, and she gained 3,000 some odd votes and won. Okay.
Craig.
That is the machines can flip. They won't just shave 5%. They'll give you 0 if you're on the list. Okay. And that was in a local precinct. And that really was the blow it all up moment. That was the undeniable, outside of anybody's, lawyers weren't really involved. This was the county came and went, state, we have a problem here and it's undeniable. Okay. So that was all coming out of this Serbia office. Whatever they're still doing it. They shut it down for 2024 because they cooked the office, the servers. They've set those up somewhere else now.
In fact, that's why they were doing cheating around the country, low-level cheating like they always do, but they know they had a lot of eyes on them. They were counting on, at the end of the day, this jam through from Serbia, and that kind of evaporated on them on the day of the election, their own computers. Oh, I'll drop something big on you. That Serbian office, Belgrade, Serbia, it has a data, there's the office, and then like most modern companies, it has a data center. There's a data center where it's heavy computers are done. That data center was built by a noted Serbian entrepreneur whose name escapes me. It has more consonants than vowels. It's but the Serbian entrepreneur of note who's also the Huawei representative for much of Europe, Huawei being the Chinese system, and who was
which is banned in the United States. The Huawei stuff is banned in the United States because it's all a backdoor to spy on us. This was a big deal because a lot of our electrical infrastructure is on Huawei hardware. And Trump signed an executive order saying none of that. And then when Biden came in, he signed an executive order saying, oh, we'll let a little Huawei in.
Is that all the 5G stuff?
It's all of our big transformers. Like, the transformers that take years to replace because they're special order. And there's like 10 of them in our whole grid. And if one of them goes out, like millions of people lose power for years.
Oh, great.
Those transformers. Okay.
Partner in starting that data center in Belgrade, Serbia, where the systems are that hack the world's computers are hosted out of. Who was his partner? 3 guesses, Emerald. 3 guesses. Who if you're really cynical at this point, who would his partner have been?
Hunter Biden.
I don't know.
Oh, it's even better.
John Brennan.
Oh. What?
The jokes write themselves.
If John Brennan was in business with the guy who set up the Serbian servers.
Yeah, who set up
our head of the CIA.
That's the end of the show.
The Serbian entrepreneur that's the rep for Huawei, where they have the vote center scam being run out of. And it gets even better.
The data center that houses the
Huawei servers.
The Dominion's real headquarters are in Belgrade, Serbia. Everything else is up front. And in Belgrade, Serbia, their headquarters, there's in an office building, but then companies have their servers are over in like another company manages a data center that they put their servers in. I'm sure that Lindell does that. TV does that as well. You probably have the company that provided the service of providing a data center to the Belgrade offices of Dominion, that data center was built by a noted Serbian entrepreneur who represents China, Huawei in Europe, and John Brennan. They're partners in it.
That's amazing. Is John Brennan stateside, or I've heard he's staying out of the country but making it look like he's in the States?
Oh.
I heard he was doing that, but then I heard he came back recently. He's actually back in.
He's actually back in. Interesting. Surprising, given what's being revealed by Tulsi Gabbard.
Say again?
It's surprising he decided to come back stateside, given what's being revealed by Tulsi Gabbard.
Well, unless he's going to go to China, there's no place to run. I mean, Trump would say to anybody, even China, surrender them or here's 100% tariffs. You don't get to access our market. This is an enemy of the state. I mean, so there's nowhere he can run.
China, okay, Patrick, you can drop.
So we as peasants are letting you in with the election stuff because of J6. It's important to me, right? We're on the front line of this. Like this information that we get from Patrick Byrne through Emma Robinson, a little bit through Alex Jones and some of the other actual players in the election fraud. I keep track of them. Right. Every day, if they're on a podcast, on any obscure podcast, I want to go listen to it. These guys have been right from the very beginning. They've followed it through. They've proven it out. The United States government is surrounding Venezuela right now. And it's clearly over the election stuff more than it's over a lot of the other things. It's all one story going on.
It looks like it's about drugs. It's not about drugs.
Everything. Well, but it all ties in. It's drugs. It's CIA, deep state intelligence. They killed Kennedy. It's money laundering. It's scams. It's immigration fraud.
Sure.
All of this.
But if the voting element wasn't a part of it, we wouldn't be there.
We would have never opened the gates.
Right.
Right. That's when you look at the election element, they can make it seem like America wants this. That's the difference. Meanwhile, we're out here going, who voted for these damn school board members?
Yeah.
Right. Honestly, like I remember one time having a block party and being like, we just elected a school board that's basically, this is like 10, 15 years ago. right at the beginning of the transgender just nonsense.
Oh yeah.
Like,
I know what you're talking about.
there was like a moment. There was a moment where all of a sudden kids were getting kicked out of like Christian schools because they were transgender. The public schools were creating programs for them. It was like, there was like a 1 or 2 year period where it was like, okay, so we're doing this. And I remember having this block party and looking around and being like, I don't think anybody on my street voted for this. You know, either they're stupid, they didn't know, they didn't vote. But I came to the conclusion, oh, it must be the guys on the other street. You know what I mean? Like 100% of this street didn't vote for that nonsense, but it must be the people in the street behind it.
Because nobody I know is that dumb.
Because nobody I know is this stupid. Well, turns out we might not be that stupid, but we don't know what's going on with the election. More and more, and I'm expressing this concern, is because we don't know what the electorate actually looks like, and we're all siloed in these little echo chambers. You just mentioned you had family come over, and they're clearly in the tank for Democrats, right?
Well, yeah, it was hard to tell.
It's hard to tell they weren't, right?
Yeah.
So what this is where it's like, we don't know what the electorate looks like. We've balkanized in a big way. The internet has allowed us to do that. So what's the story? Are we a socialist country? Is Seattle really that far left? Or have we just had one bad election after another?
Well, I don't know if you remember this, but this is a big reason why I showed up on this podcast with you. And early on, I mean, I had this gut feeling like, man, you know, Washington has been blue for 30 years, but it just doesn't feel like it.
It was supposed to be Union blue.
Right.
You know, it wasn't supposed to be this.
Right. I mean, that's exactly the way that my grandfather was like, well, what are you doing? You're not voting Democrat? Because he grew up, you know, in an era where being a Democrat meant you were for the people. And I was like, Grandpa, it's not like that anymore, you know? And then of course he passed away, not really understanding that his party had completely changed and evolved into something that he didn't recognize.
I got into a discussion with another J6er one time who was a union carpenter. So in Missouri, they don't have building codes like we have here and permitting like we have here. The unions just take care of it, right? The unions make sure the buildings are good enough.
Okay.
So everything is through the unions in Missouri. And he was making a real strong case on why the unions were good. And I'm like, yeah, I could go to a right to work state and we'll talk about unions. You know what I mean? But the trade-off in Missouri, keep in mind, the center of the conservative universe right now, the trade-off there is no building codes. Right? Like you can just buy land and build. If you hire a contractor, they have union rules that they're going to follow. If you're going to be a DIYer, joke's on you. Does that make sense? Like it's your own liability. That makes sense to me. I could see why you would be a union blue dog Democrat in Missouri, right? Pro-life, but yet, yeah, I like unions. Okay, well, that makes sense. But we're seeing less and less of that. Up in Minnesota, another one of these states that was deeply blue because of the unions. You've got coal miners, you've got steel workers, you've got North Woodsmen and lumberjacks. Like this is hardworking Minnesota nice blue dog Democrats. It's been completely co-opted by the Somali community, right? We're seeing stuff come out of Minnesota that is making everybody scratch their heads. And a lot of it's being focused around the Somali community. Well, over on MS Now, they're big mad. They don't want you to focus on the fact that the fraud's coming from the Somalis.
So these were funds that were meant to go to help feed hungry people during the COVID pandemic, to help keep people in their homes who were at risk of homelessness. So first of all, if there is fraud there, that should be fully investigated, no matter where it is, whether it's in a Democratic-led state, a Republican-led state. I mean, let's pull back. So absolutely, it should be investigated. The question is, you know, why is this a priority in a different kind of way? The politicization of the DOJ and the FBI is undeniable. So whether they are reliable narrators.
I absolutely hate it when they're like, weaponization of the FBI and DOJ is undeniable. I know. This is what we've been saying. Are you conceding the point to us, or is this a new weaponization? It's like, I know.
It just feels like it's a new talking point. I mean, what do you want to do? How long is this investigation going to take? This should be a pretty short investigation.
You think?
is the big question. And this is what happens when you weaponize and politicize federal agencies that are not meant to be, politicized. And I think the American people are right to ask the question, well, can we trust you? And that's a sad thing to say as an American. Let's recall, too, that there's also other scandals in other states. For example, the Mississippi welfare scandal. And this is not unique to politics. Americans know that. But of course, the other factor here is that because it looks like the Somali population in Minnesota, the Somali immigrant population may have been involved in some way, those people are being scapegoated, and that community is being scapegoated in a way that certainly serves the far right.
Oh, that's what this is. Right. This is all just political games. Oh, okay. No. The fraud is so massive. That's why it's important politically. Is she retarded?
Well, here's the thing. Okay, let's just call a spade, okay? Tim Walz's own mouth. What's been going on in Minnesota?
We're a state of immigrants that values that. We have more refugees per capita than any other state. That's not just morally a good thing. It's our economic and cultural future. This beautiful diversity we see out in Worthington when I'm there, you see 50 languages spoken in the school, and you see every storefront filled.
That's real good for education. That's like Tower of Babylon type stuff. Yeah. 50 languages in an elementary school? Good hell.
Nobody can talk to each other, so let's all scatter to the wind.
With different types of foods, different types of businesses that are happening. Minnesota needs to continue to do that. The office of governor can set the tone on that. We're going to continue to need to diversify. We're going to have to put policies in place that make sure we're attracting teachers of color so that students of color have someone that they understand, look like, think like, see like in front of them, as well as other students. We are doing it in Minnesota. We're a state of immigrants that...
Okay, so how did they do it? They literally had the Somali community come to them. This is our TV actor that's now turned politician. This is the look at me. This is my boat now. Okay. This is him talking about exactly what they did to approach Tim Walz to be like, hey, we'll support you for re-election because we're now a voting bloc, right? But we want something out of it. So I'm going to translate this. One of the reasons we supported the Governor Walz, for 30 years, Somalis lived in Minnesota. Not one single African was ever appointed to any senior position by any governor. We don't want any symbolic appointments. We demand real power. For a state whose economy we contribute to, arguable, the benefits had to reach the Somali community. It never happened that Somali organizations and Somali community received even $100,000 from Minnesota departments. Before Tim Walz became governor, for the first time ever, it became possible to fund the Somalis and their needs in Minnesota. One of the reasons, so they went to the governor and basically were like, we'll support you, but you have to start funneling money our way. And so...
And he's like, okay.
We're like, okay. So when we talk about $9 billion and we, a couple years, this is all under Tim Walz, like all of it. Okay. He's the one who was like, yeah, open all the daycares. Of course, enroll all of your children in daycare. Now, Tim Walz clearly on the hot seat. Every time he gets questions now, it's, what are you going to do about this?
Look, it's not law-abiding citizens. If that were the case, there's a lot of white men should be holding a lot of white men accountable for the crimes that they have committed. I think for the community to maybe educate their population, because I think what you're seeing here is there's secondary victims in this, that there's providers inside the community that are then victimizing the community themselves by signing them up. Because when we're going to some of these people, they're like, I had no idea I was in this program.
Okay, so I was making this comment yesterday. We got 100 kids in this daycare. There's 100 kids on rolls somewhere because that's how fraud works, right? You got to have all the boxes checked. And clearly when you go in and you see the schools all painted, it's like they know how to pass a walkthrough. You know what I mean? Like they know how to make sure all the positions are filled. The board of directors has got everybody it needs.
Right.
And I bet they have a roster of kids. But that roster of kids, like one of the people said, oh, we don't take cash. It's only people on insurance. Those kids don't attend those daycares. They're at home with mom, but she's enrolled in SNAP, CHIP, Section 8. The kids are all enrolled in any school programs that they can possibly get money or a kickback from. So they enroll in the daycare, and they probably get slipped $100 a month for the kid. Then the daycare keeps, the $1,500 a month that the state's paying, and then they slip $500 in campaign contributions, and $700 goes to salaries. You know what I mean? But sure, the kids are on the rolls. Okay. So when they go out to these kids, they're like, hey, did you know that you're supposed to be at the daycare right now? What are you talking about?
What daycare?
It's not a part of our routine. It's just a part of mom and dad's paycheck.
So I think it's asking us then, for every crime, which of course the majority being committed by white men, asking us to do more about that. I think it's crime in general. And I think the biggest thing on this is just making sure that we're educating the population. And again, this is 80 people or so that have been convicted in this, maybe some more in that.
$9 billion out the door. It's about 80 people. So, okay.
Out of a broader ring, Medicaid fraud will stretch across all racial demographics, all ethnic groups. So I think it's really important for us to note each community's got this in their own midst, but to blame them and say that they should have been responsible for stopping it, I think that's a pretty hard reach. I think we continue to educate folks.
Okay, so if it's not the community's fault that's doing the stealing, so say we've got the redneck Northwoods boys up there stealing Medicaid frauds. So if it's not the community's job to police themselves, whose job is it?
Well, and also, if this is so widespread and there's so many people that have so many problems, how come people are asking you the questions and you're the one at the pulpit trying to answer these questions? I mean, come on.
The split your cake and eat it too.
Yeah.
Don't blame the community. Definitely don't blame me.
Yeah, exactly.
So when I was in prison one time, we were in line for commissary. And the way the prison works out their commissary lines, it's first come, first serve. There's a little bit of space, spot saving a little bit, but you gotta be able to.
Those are important spots.
There has to be a deterrent as to why you get to cut and no one else does. Okay. So there was a really, the prisoners had worked out a functioning line system that was dependable week after week, right? You knew that if you ran down there, you could get your spot, you'd have to wait, but it was like that. Well, one day we had this guard who was the union rep, who was one of the worst guards I ever met. He hated inmates, probably because he hated himself. And he got transferred out of the tool room where he was a thorn in my side over in facilities, and he ended up working the T on commissary mornings, which is where we would all line up for commissary. Well, he decides he wants to run the line his own way, and the line starts here, not over here, and it just creates chaos. Okay? Well, as he moves the whole line, so we all lose our spots and we have to migrate down the hall, somebody comes around the corner and sees the doors are wide open and is like, I was late, but now I'm first in line. So not paying attention to the line that had moved, he just puts his back up the wall like, I'm first in line. And the guard turns around and sees him standing there. And instead of correctly interpreting the situation, this is a latecomer who hasn't quite woke up and had his full cup of coffee and realized everybody's over here now. He's over here standing just with a smile ear to ear like, I made it, And the guard turns around and just, what are you, an idiot? What do you think you're stupid? Just lights this guy up. Well, come on, you're from the hood. You can't just open like that. Right? So that creates a back and forth. And the guy's like, what are you talking about, stupid? I'm not stupid. I'm standing in line. Don't you see the lines over there? Suddenly the guy turns and sees 100 people lined up. And he's like, oh, I do see that line over there. Guy got taken to the hole.
Oh,
right? But one of the he got taken to the hole. He was gone for 2 weeks for that, and it was completely not his fault. But it's just prison, is what it is. But one of the things the guard kept wanting us to do as inmates was police the line the way he wanted it policed. And it was like,
not happening.
I remember one of the inmates was like, I'm not going to do your job. You're the cop. Yeah. And that's how I feel with Tim Waltz here. Like, well, the communities can't be expected to police themselves.
Right.
Well, then Tim Waltz, who would be expected to police them? Oh, you can't. don't expect the cops to do
his
it.
words were, they should police themselves. It's like, what?
Then it's the same problem. It's that's what you get paid to do. You don't pay me to be a snitch.
About why they shouldn't commit crimes. You would hope that it's being taught both at home and at schools and in our society. But no, I think this idea that the Somali community is to blame for this because there's a few more.
It's not them. It's not being taught in their home, in their mosques and in their scriptures. It's being taught to take advantage of you, Tim.
That was very nearly the best spit take ever.
I just about blew it out my mouth.
I think that's how we got into this. And that's, again, I know we're not going to lose the whole plot here. All this work that's being done, Donald Trump brought this to the attention like this is something brand new. This is not brand new. It's been being worked on, but he made it white hot and very dangerous.
Dangerous.
He made it white hot. So this is Nick Shirley.
It's not new. I love it.
But he made it white hot. So let's see.
This is what happens when they target communities for their own benefit. This is what happens when they scapegoat. And this is what happens when they no longer hide the idea of white supremacy.
So it's white supremacy to want to know that our tax dollars are actually going to help the kids. I will never forget Elon Musk talking about Doge. You have some foundation to save the pandas. Ooh, I love the pandas.
I think a little bit of auditing is some white guilt I can live with.
Yeah, a little bit of auditing. I'll take the white guilt. Yeah. Where are the pandas? Well, we don't have any pandas. Where are you taking this money? Like, where are the kids? Well, we don't have any kids here. This is just a child care facility. I mean, we don't actually have to care for kids, do we? We just have to be prepared on any given day to care for a kid. So Nick Shirley's asked, is it really white supremacy?
Sounds to me, Nick, that Governor Tim Walz is saying that you and others that are out there trying to expose this, you're doing it because you're white supremacists. What is your response to him?
Yeah, Tim wants votes. There are entire apartment complexes where white people have been pushed out of these apartment complexes because Somalians have taken over and they're inside of these towns like Minneapolis where they can go get votes from these people. And if you have 100,000 people that will vote for you because you're going to enable and let this stuff happen and because you're going to call a white person racist for calling out facts, this is what's going to happen to a state like Minnesota. Minnesotans, they say Minnesota nice, but they are very upset. And I fully understand why they're upset. Because they don't have a governor who's actually working for them. He's actually working against them.
Nick, your video's been viewed 93 million times. What do you think will be the result of this? Do you think that things will change because of bringing attention to this, or do you think it'll be much the same, swept under the rug and keep moving forward?
Yeah, there better be change. People are demanding it. The investigations have been launched just from that video alone. And so there better be change because, like I said, we work way too hard to be paying taxes. We work way too hard to be not knowing where our money's going. And at the end of the day, the people in the government, they work for us. We don't work for them. And so it's their responsibility to hold these people accountable. And so if there's not something that's happened, people are going to be very frustrated. And so if President Trump's watching this, it's time to really get down to nitty gritty and to make a difference in this place of Minnesota that is pretty much like Somaliland right now.
That phrase, Minnesota nice, right? As peasants, we always need to be aware of the pendulum.
I've never even heard of that.
You've never heard of that?
No.
I've heard of that my whole life. My wife said the same thing. She's like, I've never heard of that. I was like, that's the phrase, like Minnesota nice. You're from Minnesota. You're Minnesota nice. Like, right?
Okay. I missed that
Somebody
part.
in the chats confirm with me that Minnesota nice. I've heard it a million times
I believe
in the last week.
I believe
it's
you.
like the show me state in Missouri. It's kind of like their slogan. You're Minnesota nice. Okay. So anyways, the pendulum swinging, like Minnesota nice is going to be Minnesota brutal here pretty soon. Okay? Like those hockey sticks are going to come with the vengeance. It won't be pitchforks. It'll be hook sticks.
So he said that 93 million views. Is that what he said?
Yeah. On his
that's a lot of views. If that was all Americans, that's a third of America. It sounds like the Klan is waking
Alex
up.
Jones is telling Donald Trump, turn off CNN and MSNBC. They're not moving the needle. MSNBC gets 500,000 viewers a day.
That was supposed to be a joke, by the way.
Well, no, the point
No, what I said, you didn't hear me, obviously.
Oh, say it again.
I said this was supposed to be a joke and nobody got it. That there's 93 million people out of 333 million people in America. I said, it sounds like the Klan is waking up.
Yeah.
It's like, because we're all white supremacists, apparently.
Yeah. Tom Emmer from the House of Representatives wrote a letter to Tim Walz because, he's big mad now. Now, he's from Minnesota. This is his place. Amid the national disgrace you've inflicted upon Minnesota, I've become further appalled at the recent reports of blatant large-scale fraud within Somali-run healthcare and daycare centers throughout the state. I demand you take immediate action to hold these criminals responsible. And for your sake, I pray you were not complicit in allowing these centers to survive. John Brennan runs the data center next to the Serbian office that steals our elections. You don't think the governor's involved with this? You think Bill Clinton didn't know what was landing on the tarmac at Mena, Arkansas with Barry Seal coming from Pablo Escobar? Right. Get out of town, bro.
These guys don't talk behind doors.
Out of town. Of course they do. Your attorney general is a Muslim named Keith Ellison. Of course they're in on it. As you know, investigative journalist Nick Shirley recently traveled to Minnesota to investigate potentially the largest fraud scandal in U.S. history, which I'm sure California and New York are like, don't look here.
Yeah, we got to be.
Minnesota was bad. Wait
I'm
until
sure.
you peel back California.
Yeah, they got bigger budgets.
1,200 feet of light rail.
Yeah.
Okay. As billions of dollars have been funneled through Somali-run Minnesota businesses, including daycares, meal and transportation services, housing assistance, healthcare operations, and more, the amount of Minnesota taxpayer dollars stolen under your watch, estimated at $9 billion, equates to almost the entire gross domestic product of Somalia. And these criminals did this hand in hand with your administration, just miles away from the state capital. Shirley easily discovered fraudulent Somali-run daycare and healthcare centers, blatantly congregating together, sometimes at the same address, with no apparent signs of children, workers, or services to be found. In just a single day of investigating these centers, he uncovered more than $110 million in fraud. It begs the question of how you and your administration were unable to cover this blatant and rampant fraud over 7 years of running our state. It is clear you are either indifferent or incapable of doing your job. For instance, Shirley quickly found Somali-run Mako Childcare and Mini Childcare Center located at the same address, licensed for 120 children, and received a combined $5 million in public funds over the last 3 years, despite an empty building 1 block away. The same situation occurred at ABC Learning Center, which is licensed for 40 children and received nearly $3 million in the past 3 years.
Wow.
Ron,
40 kids.
Let's start a daycare, bro. We
know.
are doing this wrong.
I'm pretty sure we could fit 40 kids right here.
We are doing it wrong. Like $5 million for 40 kids. We're doing it wrong.
We could be rich.
Yeah. Like, screw a farm. Let's start a daycare. Future. Similarly, I can't even believe this. I mean, like,
yeah.
All the energy that we put into that RV park that the family built, right? All the energy to put in RV, like it won't even clear $5 million a year. This is the daycare. It's like let's do a migrant shelter in Houston with all these beds making thousands of dollars a month and then not let anybody in.
Right.
I mean, you couldn't provide paperwork for prospective parents. However, the most blatant scheme was Quality Leering Center, which is licensed for 99 children, received approximately $4 million in the last 2 years, and had incorrect spelling on its signage. They're blaming the vendor. He couldn't spell. The list of fraudulent daycares Shirley found goes on. It would have taken your administration minutes to discover these Somali-run schemes. Sadly, ignorance is no defense. If this wasn't enough, Shirley found one building in Minneapolis that has 14 Somali-owned home healthcare businesses at the same address, and another building in St. Paul with 22 home healthcare businesses at the same address. Yet none of the businesses could provide Shirley with a rate, despite funneling between $50 million and $60 million through one of the buildings per year. Whoa. Shirley was later escorted out of the building for asking for rates. This is despicable. As Shirley reported, these centers are receiving public funds, including state and federal money, through the Child Care Assistance Program. This is especially concerning considering CCAP isn't unfamiliar to Minnesota. Following reports of approximately $100 million in fraud through the CCAP in 2018, the state of Minnesota conducted a review and concluded that they could not provide a reliable estimate of how much fraud existed in the program at that time. Therefore, I demand answers to the following questions by January 9th, 2026. Can you list the steps, if any, you or your administration have taken to eliminate fraud within the CCAP? Probably nothing prior to Nick Shirley's reporting. What is your administration process for auditing healthcare and daycare centers that receive the state funding? Have any daycare or healthcare centers exposed in Shirley's report been audited or investigated by your administration in the past? If not, why? Provide all violations these centers have received. Why was Creative Minds Daycare allowed to operate the next day as Super Kids Daycare following its closure? Provide the violations Creative Minds Daycare received and the correspondence your administration had with Creative Mind Daycare prior to its closure. So one daycare got closed for all kinds of problems, and they just started a new one in the same place the next day. So, we'll just close this one down. Do you plan to revoke the licenses of the childcare centers that were exposed during Shirley's investigation? And if so, do you plan on recommending criminal investigations? Do you plan to do the same for healthcare centers? And do you plan to resign, given estimates that total fraud in Minnesota's Medicaid programs is now over $9 billion? Governor Walz, the country is watching. I could not be more grateful to President Trump and his administration for investigating the billions of fraud in Minnesota under your watch. Now more than ever, I urge you to join him and hold those found guilty responsible, including yourself. America is no longer asking, but they are demanding you take action against these criminals. I expect your prompt response. Sincerely, Tom Emmer, Member of Congress. Now, in a normal investigation, things take forever, right? In my little J6 case, it was 3 years before I finally saw a trial. So the way they go about these frauds, Nick Shirley goes and is like, there's no kids here. It's 99 kids on the list. It's prima facie, on its face, fraud.
Well, and then that clip you played early on in the podcast with that chick that said, well, we're going to have to investigate it. And I was like, oh, that's not what we need. This is going to take so long that it's going to provide cover for all these nonsense arguments you're making about, oh, well,
the kids are enrolled. They just choose not to show up. And here's the paperwork that we have.
And quit painting Somalis so bad because, they're just scapegoats. Like, what the hell are you talking about?
Now, let's get into the underbelly of this. Because on the surface, again, Nick Shirley goes, he sees the fraud. It seems obvious. An investigator you'd think could come in and it's like, this is criminal complaint territory here. Like if they walk into your health inspector walks into your restaurant and a rat runs across the lobby, you're getting written up. And it doesn't matter if they find the rat after the fact or evidence of how it came in or out. It doesn't matter how much bleach water you have laying around. It doesn't matter that you just swept. If a rat runs across your lobby when the health department walks up, you got problems. Okay? Yeah. If the rat traps are out on the counter and they show up, you have problems. If it's 3 p.m. and school's out and you walk into a child care center and it's licensed for 99 kids and paid and there's no kids, you got a problem. But yet the state won't do that. Oh, we need to get warrants and let's look at bank accounts and let's subpoena the paperwork and cross-reference and, oh, these kids are enrolled. Let's go interview the kids and see if they've ever even been to the place. And, oh, they haven't. But then again, it's parental choice whether they take
this is months and months and months.
Could be months and months and months. We've got that guy who killed Melissa Hortman, the former speaker emeritus in Minnesota, after she was the single Democrat that cast a vote not to give illegal migrants health care benefits in Minnesota. Remember this?
Yeah.
So her murderer dressed up like a cop, went to her house, went to another guy's house that had a manifesto, had a list of people. People kind of painted him. Oh, he was going after people that were pro-choice or pro-life, or it got really conflated. And then after he was arrested, he sent a letter to Kash Patel, basically saying Tim Walz told me to do it. Right? Do you remember all this?
Yes.
It was just dismissed as, oh, that's hoppycock. Well, in light of what we're learning, let's recap that whole story.
Do you remember Vance Bolter, the man who worked for Tim Walz, who unalived a Minnesota representative? Minnesota Representative Melissa Hortman was the only Democrat to vote against health care funding for illegals in Minnesota. She was unalived almost immediately after her vote.
I know that people will be hurt by that vote, and we worked very hard to try to get a budget deal that wouldn't include that provision.
DFL Speaker Emerita Melissa Hortman emotional following the House's adjournment from a special session Monday. Hortman was the lone DFL lawmaker to cast a vote to cut Minnesota Care access for undocumented immigrants. It's a move she made with a heavy heart.
I did what leaders do. I stepped up and I got the job done for the people of Minnesota.
Very shortly after this, she was unalived in her home by Vance Bolter, who was later caught after a manhunt. He then sent a letter to the FBI and Kash Patel saying that it was Tim Walz who forced him to do it. Both Vance Bolter and his wife worked for Tim Walz for years in different states. Today, it's breaking news that the money laundering scam in Minnesota of billions of dollars for healthcare offices, child daycares, Medicaid, and various forms of care agencies. These money laundering frauds have been exposed, and it all comes back to Tim Walz. Was Melissa Hortman unalived because she voted against a multi-billion-dollar money laundering fraud? The fraud that she voted against that heavily implicated illegal aliens, specifically Somalians, who have been racketing this kind of childcare, healthcare rackets and cooperating with our corrupt government. In Vance Bolter's letter, he said Tim Walz put him up to it because Tim Walz wanted a seat in the Senate. But maybe all it really was about was billions and billions of money laundering, a racket dependent on illegal immigration and compliance.
I can't help think, though, of all the people who would be a little miffed and tell us that this was a big fuss would be Mark and Melissa, never seeking that limelight, but always being at the place where good was being done.
It's really sad. What if, right? Pray the Rosary Daily confirms. She says, I'm from Minnesota, and that phrase is true. And Frazier says, in Minnesota, someone may not say no outright, but it is more probably not. That's probably why the Somalis couldn't take no for an answer. It was probably not. So you're saying there's a chance. So this Somali issue runs deep. So there was a trial where you had some kind of bureaucrat worker that was in charge of all these applications on top of someone in the Somali community that was coordinating a huge fraud, and they got put on trial. They got put in trial, and the trial was pretty damning. There was a bribe paid by some, $100,000 cash dropped off at a juror's house. That got caught. That juror ended up taking a plea deal or whatever. But then the judge overturned the case. Did you remember all this?
Yeah.
The jury's like, we took like 4 hours to deliberate. It was clear-cut fraud. And the judge is like, I don't know about that. Let's just turn it over. Meanwhile, while there were bribes being paid, which begs the question, did the judge get a bribe?
Right.
So let's hear a little bit about this. This thing is crazy. And even the people involved in the case were like, I think we've turned on full mafia. We've turned on full mobster.
Reporter Eric Rasmussen is live in Minneapolis, where prosecutors are trying to use Bach's own words against her. Eric.
And a 6-word text from Bach to one of her staff members might have been the most stunning. She wrote, "We may have become the mob." And I can tell you that wasn't the only.
What would be the mob characteristics? Hits on political opponents, cash payoffs, money laundering schemes. I mean, you think about the mob in New York, you watch the movie Sopranos. What does every good mob have? They've got a restaurant to launder the cash. They've got a laundromat to launder a little more cash. Yeah. They've got a couple spots, some construction yards where they can do the beatings and the dead drops, right? Isn't that, the Somalis, do they not have like thousands of square feet of office space where they can meet privately? Like some of those childcare centers, I look at them, I'm like, that's a polygamous family. Like, that's a guy with multiple wives. That's basically how he's funding it. You know what I mean?
Text message that had everyone's attention in the courtroom today.
We know you're violating the law. We know they're being discriminatory.
Strong words from Amy Bach in 2021 when she fought the state to keep tax dollars flowing to feeding our future. In court Monday, even tougher talk revealed in text messages. Get that expletive cleaned up. Bach wrote to her co-defendant Salim Saeed after a member of the Somali community accused Bach of fraud in a social media post. Both Bach and Saeed are charged with wire fraud and bribery connected to a federal pandemic relief program. Prosecutors say nearly $250 million went through Feeding Our Future to sites that falsely claim to serve thousands of meals a day. Bach has denied any personal connection to the fraud, even as a parade of witnesses over the last month testified that Feeding Our Future and Bach were directly involved. As pressure mounted in the summer of 2021, prosecutors say Bach was worried Saeed could turn on her, texting a consultant that he has expletive to take me down. The entire community is going to hang up on me to take me down. And tonight we're hearing the prosecution could finish presenting its case to the jury in the next day or two. After that, of course, the big question is whether Amy Bach will take the stand in her own defense. Of course, we'll be here to see what happens. Live in Minneapolis, Eric Rasmussen.
The entire community could turn the take me down. I didn't do it. Oh, my goodness. It's just almost too much. This is Representative Comer, who on the federal side, they're going to start doing some investigations. I worry about sometimes, who was it that was talking about this? Talked about we just go from news cycle to news cycle to news cycle. Like, do we have enough time? Like, we've got the election stuff. We haven't even touched it. Where's the congressional hearings on that?
Yeah.
Do we have enough time to jump into Minnesota fraud?
No.
Can't the DOJ just handle this?
No.
You know what I mean? Like, again, exposure's exposure, but I worry.
Tomorrow we'll be talking about the
We're
next
still supposed to
blow-up.
have the Clintons were supposed to have testified back in like September and October, and they pushed it out till October, January for the Epstein files. We still want to get to the bottom of the Epstein files, despite what President Trump does or doesn't want. Right? We got all these things going on, and I guess we're going to go and find out more about Minnesota fraud.
Now the federal government is getting involved here. House Oversight Committee, it's widening its probe, inviting state lawmakers to come testify and other federal departments to investigate. So let's bring in now Chairman James Cober. He leads the charge over at Oversight, and he joins us now. Good morning to you. Tell us about who you're bringing in, who you want to see on Capitol Hill, and what questions do you want to ask them?
Well, the most important people are the state whistleblowers, the state employees who put that tweet out that we all are familiar with a few weeks ago that alerted America to the massive fraud. These state employees also allege that they had warned both Governor Walz and Attorney General Ellison for years that this fraud was occurring, and yet nothing was taking place. So we're going to bring the state employees in. We're going to get their sworn testimony. We appreciate their bravery in coming forward. We're also going to bring in state lawmakers and Minnesota mayors because the walls are caving in on Tim Walz. This massive amount of fraud is affecting and impacting every citizen of Minnesota because they're having to cut services because so much of the money for social programs was wasted and defrauded by this Somali population. So these are the people we're going to bring in. We're going to try to identify who was responsible for this. We're going to try to identify banks that we can subpoena their bank records so we can follow the money to see how much was taken, who took it, and then who do we need to hold accountable, and hopefully we'll have some criminal referrals at the end of the investigation.
What is so fascinating about this, Chairman Comer, is how no one knew. Or did they know? This is an op-ed from the Wall Street Journal here, asking, I think, a pretty fair question. When nearly $250 million can vanish from one state program before anyone truly notices, taxpayers are justified in asking who was supposed to be minding the store. The uncomfortable answer is that no one elected by the people held that responsibility or held the mandate and clout to stop the scheme. You know, your whip, Tom Emmer, says there's no way that Governor Tim Walz didn't know or somebody in his administration didn't have an inkling that there was something going on. Do you agree with that? And how do you prove that?
I agree completely. Look, Tom Emmer was a state legislator in Minnesota before he came here. He has the pulse of Minnesota. He communicates regularly with Minnesota state legislators and Minnesota state employees. They've been talking about this for years. There was a congressman that came in from Minnesota when I came in 9 years ago to Congress named Jason Lewis. He was talking about the massive fraud from the Somali population 9 years ago. So this is something that's been talked about in Minnesota for a long time. The Minnesota media is very liberal, so they're never going to write anything bad about a beloved Democrat like Tim Walz or Keith Ellison. So finally, the state employees have stepped forward publicly and talked about this massive amount of fraud. And I can tell you from our preliminary discussions with these state employees, it is a significant amount of money. And remember, Minnesota isn't a big state. So when you're talking about billions of dollars for a small state, that is a significant percentage of the budget for welfare in that state.
Should the governor resign? Are you calling on him to resign?
Well, not yet. He deserves due process, and we're going to give him due process. One of the things he said in the last 48 hours was that the Oversight Committee didn't need to worry about this investigation, that he would take care of it. I mean, no one in America believes that. That is a joke. We are going to investigate this. The key to a good congressional investigation is having whistleblowers. And fortunately for us, we have some state employees who have bravely stepped forward. We're going to get them under oath, and they're going to tell us everything they know, and we're going to go from there. Wherever the investigation leads us, we will go. We're going to try to do it as rapidly as possible. But I think at the end of the day, the American taxpayers, and especially the taxpayers in Minnesota, are going to be sick at their stomach, and Tim Walz is going to have a lot of explaining to do.
Okay. Chairman Comer.
So there's a couple different ways that they could take this, right? They could take it where they try to go after the kingpins. Who are the bureaucrats? Who are the NGOs that kind of facilitated this and, egged it on? But don't blame the community because they just got taken advantage of. They just got told to do it this way. They were told this is normal. This is legal.
This is how we do it in America. Okay.
Now, anybody who understands crimes like this, like your intent doesn't matter. Did you check the box incorrectly or not? You know what I mean? I think they should just come after everyone. They should be talking at these businesses. If on the surface it doesn't check out, indict, and then do your deep dive into their tax records.
Yeah, you can figure that shit out later.
Charges. And then with that pressure, get these people to turn and say, yeah, this bureaucrat or this NGO told me to do it this way, or this community organizer, work your way from the bottom up. The idea that they're going to work, this is how the Congress is going to do it. They're going to work from the top down.
Yeah, I like that one a lot. I was like, well, that's a great one. Maybe Taylor, maybe you should have told your judge, I'll take care of the investigation here. Don't worry about this.
Don't worry
about
it.
Case over.
Yeah, I got it. We're good. So ICE is on the ground already in Minnesota.
ICE has been on the ground in Minnesota for a while now looking at these fraud claims. And one thing now the Homeland Security Investigation Special Agents are looking into is just that you said, that money trail, where this money is going to foreign aid. Obviously looking at any type of links to any criminal activity, obviously terrorism activity, and one thing you will see is that ICE is actually out there going with criminal warrants to conduct these investigations. So all too often you hear that ICE is just out there terrorizing the community or conducting administrative work. We've been on the ground in Minnesota conducting criminal investigations, and Homeland Security investigations has gone door to door to a lot of these suspected fraud sites all over St. Paul and Minnesota, and we're learning a lot.
I just think it's like a little late. Here's an example. This is ICE out doing an actual investigation.
Are there any subcontractors or anything you guys do? Say like other businesses that you partner use for service, transportation, anything like that. Usually better so they come like this from the kids.
Notice how we won't let us in the building.
Yeah, I was going to make a comment about that. They are open. Is there any reason they're not standing inside out of the cold?
Yeah. So there's a handful of these videos that went out yesterday. They're all like that. A couple times they got into the hallways, but it's the same thing Nick Shirley got. No, don't look here.
Right.
Oh,
yeah.
The kids just aren't here right now.
Exactly.
A lot of this. Now, we pointed this out yesterday. Ari Hoffman pointed this out, that you had these childcare centers in Minnesota making donations to politicians in Washington State.
Right.
Well, it turns out somebody in Washington State did a little search on the Secretary of State's website, and they wanted to know childcare centers, and they narrowed it down to centers that have Somali as one of their listed spoken languages. Do you want to take a guess at how many of these there are in Washington State?
Please don't.
Take a guess.
No.
Just throw a number out.
No. I wanted to guess a single.
Barton A. I know I like Miami childcare. Okay.
Mommy childcare.
Another one. Imam childcare. Learn and play. Abdi.
Learn and play. The names are all great.
I know. Well, Abiba daycare.
You've already exceeded the number that I wanted to quote. Oh, man. Well.
Oh.
Are we in triple digits?
Oh, yeah. It's triple digits.
Oh, no.
Keep going.
Dude, you just keep scrolling. Just tell me the number. Is it 1,000?
Oh, not quite 1,000.
Okay.
Goodness. Holy smokes. Okay, so the number here that they count is 539 childcare centers in Washington State that list Somali as the primary language. Most don't even give a street address.
Oh, jeez.
It's everywhere.
So that's just the ones that have Somali as a language listed.
Yep, just the ones that have Somali as a language in Washington State.
It's crazy.
Yep. Now, again,
how many Somalians do you know?
I know a few.
Do you?
Actually, yeah. And they're not hard to pick out because black people hate them.
Oh.
In prison, I met quite a few Somalis, and black people hate them.
Oh.
They don't assimilate with the black community. They don't get into the hip hop and stuff like that. They have their own subculture.
Okay.
They're like an Arab subculture. Like they don't even do the Prislam thing. They do their own thing. even though they're Sunni with those guys.
Huh.
Yeah. And I've met some outside too, and they don't assimilate the same.
Huh.
Yeah, they don't assimilate the same.
I was just gonna say, I don't think I know anybody who's Somali. I know the look, but I just don't think I know any.
There was a couple Somali prison guards, and it was interesting. So the African prison guards, the guys from Ivory Coast, Nigeria.
No. I'm not talking about experiences elsewhere. I'm talking about here in Washington, in Kitsap County. Do you know any Somalians in Kitsap County? You do? Okay.
Yeah. But I know a family.
Okay.
So there's not a ton in this county, but clearly they're in the state.
I was just thinking though, I mean, do we need 539 childcare places? Because I just don't know that many people that would even know Somalian.
I know. And the crazy thing about it is I'm like, do white people know that they can get that much money for childcare places?
Obviously not.
Obviously not. They're out there taking cash payments and working out deals with single moms and stuff like that. Now, why Tim Walz can't be trusted to investigate this is because clearly politicians in Minnesota have been aware of this and by their own words are unable to stop it. On top of that, we see politicians that have probably benefited this significantly. Like, for example, Ilhan Omar.
Ilhan Omar's husband's venture capital firm has reportedly erased the names of 9 officers and advisors from its website. Now, I'm not saying that anyone did anything wrong. I'm just saying that the coincidence department is working overtime. Omar's husband, Tim Minette, launched Rose Lake Capital in 2022, and its reported value went from almost nothing to between $5 million and $25 million. Now, I'm not saying that there's a connection to what's been happening in Minnesota, but when your net worth jumps to $30 million in a year and you represent a district where $1 billion went missing, that's usually Act 2 in the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're getting ready for Act 2. It goes deep, guys, all the way down to the city council members. This is Jamal Osman, who's involved in his own scandal with his wife.
And yes, folks have done, horrible things, and people have committed crimes, but we should not be pointing the entire community in one brush.
I heard that MDE took this step to really stop feeding the kids in the middle of pandemic.
So there was allegations of fraud that they were taking money to feed kids and the kids weren't getting fed. So they got a notice saying funds are getting cut off. Well, he pushed back in the best way possible.
My office had to do something.
In the video, Osman tells the room how he arranged a call with the MDE commissioner about their attempts to stop new meal sites.
But I'm one of those people that push back and call it what it is, which is racist tactics. I told her this money is actually from the federal. Your job is to distribute fairly to the communities that deserve.
At the time he delivered this speech, Osman's wife, Ilo Amba, was in the middle of claiming to run a meal site of her own in this small office in downtown Minneapolis that the Minnesota Attorney General in this civil complaint calls a fraudulent shell company. Public records show Amba's...
Do you know how bad it has to be when the Muslim Attorney General turns on his own...
Nonprofit Urban Advantage Services received $460,000 in reimbursements between February and November 2021. The AG shut it down, citing participation in the meal fraud scheme. What's more, testimony and evidence in Bach's ongoing trial has shown Osman and Amba signed over control of a different, dormant nonprofit they founded together called Stigma Free. Osman writing to its new board, quote, "I have seen growth during the time that I've served. And
it was a dormant. They didn't do anything with it. It was a shell nonprofit.
Confident you will continue to grow this amazing organization in my absence." The men who took over Stigma Free are charged with using it immediately to rack up more than $13 million in meal fraud across the state.
Councilmember Osman, you agreed to sit down with me and talk about this week.
Osman never returned follow-up calls or texts.
Is Councilmember Jamal Osman in the office today?
And could not be found to answer questions at City Council or at his home.
Who do you trust? You got city councilmen, you got congressmen, you clearly got the governor. He may or may not have a hitman running around. You've got people admitting that we've turned full mafia.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry, guys. Don't worry, says Tim Walz. We got this. We'll take care of it in our own special way. Now, the investigation is growing. In Ohio, muckrackers going out and doing the same thing. He's visiting people, these childcare centers. And right here, he's talking to someone across the street from one of these childcare centers.
It's a daycare center owned by Somalians and stuff like that.
Have you ever seen any kids in this place here?
Not that I know of. I've just seen it, the building itself. I've never seen nobody come out the building or go in the building.
You've never seen anybody over there?
No.
So right now we are in front of the Great Minds Learning Academy. This is one of the many daycare centers, learning centers here in Columbus, Ohio, that are associated with the Somali community. As you know, Nick Shirley put out a bombshell report about all these fraudulent daycare facilities in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So we wanted to come out to Columbus, Ohio, and investigate what might be going on in the second largest Somali community in the United States of America. So this place here is the first place we're going to knock, and we're going to see if anybody picks up or answers the door. Let's see.
Ding dong. Trick or treat. Well, thank you for speeding it up.
So
nobody came to the
locked. We're ringing the doorbell here. Knocking on the door.
Oh, not
nobody's picking up. So we're not sure what the hell's going on here, but we're gonna get out of here. Now there's somebody over there. How you doing, sir? I'm sure you see the reports over the weekend about all the daycare centers in Minnesota. We just wanted to see what was going on. Did you know anything about this place here?
It's a daycare center by Somalians and stuff like that.
Did you ever see any kids?
All right.
Now, this comes back to the biggest problem we face as an American population. Let's assume the election system gets fixed. Let's assume a lot of this fraud stuff gets shut down.
Okay.
You still cannot outvote, even in a fair election, an indoctrinated society.
That's
a society that thinks checking into fraud is somehow racist. A society that believes collectivism is good and will fix all of our problems, right? We can't outvote that if we have fair elections and we've indoctrinated our community to do that. Minnesota it's an all-out takeover, and states like Washington State have the same thing, right? Minnesota's clearly being run by the Somali mafia. Washington State, in my opinion, is being run by the gay mafia, right? And you've got different places are run by an oil mafia or whatever. Like, this is like in every city you have the patina of federal government, patina of state government, and patina of community government. But when you drill down into it, you find some type of cartel behavior going on, right? I'm not saying necessarily drug cartels, but you either have a judicial cartel or you have a city council cartel where their positions are locked in place with their political structures, and gosh darn it, they got their own agenda for the county for zoning and whatever. And who's paying the tab? A lot of environmentalists that have an outsized vote in Kitsap County. You know what I'm saying? You can't outrun that indoctrination. This is what Minnesota's got going on starting this year in its school curriculum.
In this week's episode of Coming to a Classroom Near You, we look at the new requirement to teach ethnic studies in all K-12 schools in Minnesota, which must be implemented in 2026. Ethnic studies includes 3 distinct standards: identity, resistance, and ways of knowing and methodologies. The Center for Race, Indigeneity, Disability, Gender, and Sexuality Studies at the University of Minnesota, or RIDGES, is converting these new ethnic studies standards into free lesson plans for school districts. RIDGES' self-declared mission is to challenge systems of power and inequality and imagine social transformation. Let's take a look at one of these taxpayer-funded lesson plans from the U of M. This first one is for 6th graders, 12-year-olds, and fulfills the Ethnic Studies Resistance Standard, which instructs students to organize and describe how individuals and communities have fought for freedom and liberation against systemic and coordinated exercises of power. It's called Protest Art and the Movement for Black Lives. Designed to take place over 3 days, the lesson focuses on the movement for Black lives and the role of protest art in mediating power in the city. Students
what
will
role
walk.
Does this have in our civic education? You know what I mean?
This is for like 8-year-olds.
Like when I talk to boomers and X generation, I'm banking on the fact at some point in 3rd grade they had a civics lesson. You know what I mean? Like I'm banking on the fact that they understand the words in the Pledge of Allegiance and a Republican form of government as contrasted with a democracy.
But instead,
deep back in their filing cabinet of early education, there's a civics class that we can lean into, right?
Yeah.
Whereas now, what are these kids getting?
It's indoctrination.
Yes. And then protesting and violence is a part of your political heritage. I mean, I know we teach that with the whole 1776 Second Amendment,
sure,
but it's way more contextualized, right?
Watch a video about George Floyd Square produced by Unicorn Riot, a nonprofit left-wing media collective that films Antifa and Black Lives Matter rallies across the country. Students will also learn how local artists responded to the death of George Floyd during the 2020 riots through mural art. Students will create their own protest art for a cause of their choice. They will even research where in the city the art could go. One of the suggestions for protest art from the U of M is defunding the police.
Look at that.
Next, they will work through the Black Lives...
So this is actually curriculum now. So, you know, in 30 years, when you're talking to kids that come out of public education in Minneapolis, we'll be like, you remember how we're supposed to defund the police? And that's like part of our American heritage?
Matter Principles Activity Book, which features all 13 Black Lives Matter...
Listen to this. Disrupting the, as far as black villages. This is in textbooks now. Disrupting the Western prescribed nuclear family structure requirement by supporting each other as extended families and villages that collectively care for one another.
This is a direct attack on the family.
Absolutely. We covered this exact chart 5 years ago when the George Floyd riots kicked off.
We're making progress.
This disappeared. This disappeared from all their websites because it says to destroy the nuclear family, and that was offensive to enough people. But it made its way back into the textbooks for Minnesotans. Wow.
Yeah.
Principles and definitions.
Queer affirming, freeing ourselves from the tight grip of heteronormative thinking to create a queer affirming network. Empathy, practicing empathy by engaging comrades. There's that word with the intent to learn about and connect with their context. Yeah.
The principles reflect the organization's thoughts on families, disrupting the Western prescribed nuclear family structure, and transgender affirmation to dismantle cisgender privilege. Again, this will be coming to all Minnesota public schools beginning in 2026. When ethnic studies was presented to the Minnesota legislature in 2023, it was portrayed as the study of different cultures, students seeing themselves in the curriculum and learning honest history. But like so many other familiar terms, Minnesota's version of ethnic studies has been hijacked to apply a liberated approach to understanding our world. Minnesota students deserve a robust education that includes learning hard historical truths and frank discussions on where this country has fallen short, not one that is confined to a narrow, politicized, and ideological worldview. Recently, California rejected a statewide ethnic studies mandate because it was too divisive. How will Minnesota respond? To see more lesson plan examples,
we'll find out. You should be involved. If you've got kids participating in any public education, you should be involved. You should be involved in the curriculum. You should be involved in the board meetings. You should do everything you can do to take noise and power away from those elected officials, right? And you have to.
And you got to know the teachers too.
Because that's the future we're walking into, right? Boomers and X generation, we can clamor about America, what it could be and should be. And the Reagan eras were so great and blah, 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 blah. And low taxes. Can you imagine? No. The next generation, the buses will be free. In the next generation, housing will be discounted. In the next generation, right? Because you've priced them out. They're upset. The Zoomer Waffen are coming and they've been indoctrinated. Collectivism's been normalized. They are no longer taught, ask not what your government can do for you, but what you can do for your government. They are being taught straight up, what can your government do for you? Does that make sense? Yeah. And so we have to be very cognizant of this. It's coming, and it's coming in a wave. Boomers are dying, and the younger generation, the Gen Y, the Gen Alpha, the Gen Zoomers or whatever, they're coming.
And they don't have the feeling of John F. Kennedy saying...
They didn't get that third grade civics class.
Yeah.
When we complain about, we still talk to people that prayed in school. We still talk to people that said the Pledge of Allegiance every single day. We still talk to people that studied American wars and American exceptionalism. That does not get taught in most school districts across the country. Does not get taught. They're not taught about the glory of Lewis and Clark and what they accomplished. Those were just men establishing claims across America and stolen land. You know what I mean?
They need to listen to more Living Color, get some of that cult of personality.
Yeah, something. All right, it's time for us to get a raid started. Ron,
Yeah,
initiate the raid. We are going to be jumping over to Ohio political news. Ohio political news. They have 5 listeners right now.
Here we go.
So we're going to go do it. Yes. Raid from the peasant's perspective, a news commentary show for the common man. Man, glad to see you guys in Ohio. How fun. So go on over to Ohio Political News and check those guys out. Here they are. Look, they're just like us. Just some Gen Z near boomers talking politics.
Joe Miller.
Because you want to get rid of the voting machines.
Yes.
The second issue is,
man.
Well, how do we know that these voting machines are really accurate? And that was
good question, bro.
A separate issue, kind of. They're both related, but there's distinctions there.
Right.
Let me just hit you on this for a minute with the voting machines and the accuracy, because we all know we have the gold standard here in Ohio, right? It's 99.999% accurate. Let's go over a few of these things. Well, I mean, you can't argue with the gold standard, all right? So you can't argue with it. We were just talking about gold with Jennifer Gross, and now we got the gold standard. We're going to have these.
Should we tell them? Gold.
All right.
Yeah. Should we tell them what the standard is?
Yeah. All right. You'd go for it. Tell me what the standard is. Who wants to start? You want to start?
I will give a simple explanation. Yeah, I'll give a simple explanation, then Tim can expound, I'm sure. So when they say that they do the audit after the elections, they only audit 5%. And they audit a printed paper ballot that they call a paper ballot. So they're just printing what's on the machine, calling it a paper ballot. And then it's only 5% of the vote. How is that accurate?
Yeah, 5%. And
great question.
At the most, right? Right, Tim? I mean,
Yes.
5% at the absolute most. But some of the problems with the voting machines are you're not able to catch them because they happen before the tabulator, correct?
Yes.
So they wouldn't even be caught in the audit, would it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they're saying that their standard,
guys are doing a
we
deep
have the highest
dive.
standard. I bet every other state is saying they.
Yeah, this is great. Yes, other people, other patriots out there.
Yeah.
By the way, something that's happened in my little community, 1776 Live, we had a member that was debanked. Their whole family was debanked this week.
Wow.
Got the same
Really?
letter I got, but they simply went in to get cash, and the bank was asking what they wanted to use the cash for, and they said none of your business, and they got debanked. That.
Wow.
So just FYI, banks are not your friends, man. They have an agenda. They are agents of the government.
Ugh.
So FYI, and these guys, not small deposits either. Like they're a significant member at the bank. So anyways, pretty big deal. All right, guys, it's time for us to jump over into private. We're going to be talking a little bit about some Laura Loomer reporting about the Christian persecution in Nigeria, and Trump's response to that sent the terrorists running. And then we're going to be hearing a little bit from Harmeet Dillon about statute of limitations. So we'll jump over to private